I'm gonna put a statement out there to get us canceled. Heimer's cooler than Yoda. All right.
Oh no!
So moving on. So
Don't go for the Star Wars fans.
one thing. Welcome to Candles of Runeterra, episode 2 of our Arcane special. We told you we were coming with the other one. You just didn't think it was gonna be this fast, huh?
What? We are working this fast? We're up to date? Never. Never. No, we're too excited, and we've been saying it, so here's the proof.
Exactly. And that's your host, Hetch, and I'm your other host, Ryan. We always do housekeeping first, and that hasn't changed. You can listen to us everywhere. Visit us at podcastcourt.com for all of our info, and then follow us on any platform you prefer. And then send an email to us at podcastcore@gmail.com, especially after this first act of Arcane. It's been saying, leave a like, follow, and a short review / comment, and tell a friend to protect the family by listening to the Casuals of Runeterra podcast, episode 2. Let's just get into it.
Yep. If you don't tell a friend to listen to us, we will strike at their family.
Wait, that's not what we meant. No, wait.
We're holding everyone hostage now.
Protect the family.
Protect the family.
Dom Toretto, where are you when we need you most?
All right. So episode 2 of Arcane, which as far as if you haven't listened to our episode 1 for Arcane yet, give that a listen, because we ended it as far as both of us just kind of saying that that's exactly what you want in episode 1.
Yep.
And then we hurried up that ending because we couldn't wait to get to episode 2.
Exactly.
And that's a good thing. And with this one, it starts off just right at the not at the beginning of episode 1, but near the very beginning of episode 1, except it's the other side of the door for where Vi and Powder are doing their heist. And on the other side of that door is a young man named Jace, followed by a very young Caitlyn. And we're just picking up right there. And it's like, oh, what happens to them?
It's funny, just to take a step back. It's funny you mentioned how it picks up right at that point, because what I've noticed, and yes, it's only been 2 episodes, right? Bear with me. The techniques they're using, like basic directing, filmmaking techniques to convey the story, is very safe. Although they're doing it well, a lot of this stuff of how they're handling the story, because it's a lot of characters, and this is something that you see a lot of missteps taken in certain, DC, we're looking at you. But there's some lore for us to immediately, mostly fans are watching this, we know what to expect, but they're doing a good job of keeping the pacing smooth and also not letting us get lost. So when this picks up, we're like, the other side of the door, we know all the other stuff. Now we're filling it here, and they're giving us the fan faves already. So Jason, Caitlyn, young friends, which that's okay. Cool.
I mean, if this kind of goes more into like Jace's lore, which we haven't talked too much about on the show.
Spoilers coming soon.
Spoilers coming soon. But what we already know just from the last in the first episode, as far as with Grayson doing her investigation in the lanes, is that the place that blew up was a Kiramon lab. The Kiramons are a respected family in Piltover, and their only child of the current Kiramons is Caitlyn Kiramon, which we did cover in Caitlyn's lore. And they do, early on, they take on like, I guess like pages or apprentices would be like the right word. But like they take young academics under their wing, kind of more like scholarships. We're not really taking care of you, but we're financially backing you so that you can go to school, you can study, and then when you start making money, you pay us back a little bit. And that is a little bit of Jace's backstory in a nutshell. So Caitlyn and Jace being together is not too surprising. But this is Caitlyn and Jace very young. So this is when Jace is still in school, which we know from Victor's lore, which we did an episode on. You can check that one out. But a brief spoiler for that is that Jace and Victor meet at school.
Yep.
So this is a Jace in school, which means Caitlyn is too young to go to school. Like Caitlyn's younger, like she's just following him around with deer lost in headlights look, just like, oh my god, Jace.
And we actually get an age here mentioned, which is Jace is 24.
Yes. We don't get that mentioned as far as him getting blown up, but so the Jace and Caitlyn do survive the explosion, and then of course the enforcers are doing their investigation to try to figure out what in the world happened, and it's like, yeah, no, Jace, we know you didn't do this, but we're noticing you don't have the paperwork to have any of the things that caused this. And especially as a college student, you kind of need to be following on the right side of the law in the paperwork. So he gets put away in the college. Like, he's still getting the preferential treatment, which is more of signs towards Caitlyn's family's backing and their standing. And it's at the college where he gets interrogated that we get his age. But we get to see another champion with his interrogation.
They did not waste time with his little feet. Dude,
raise your dongers, baby. Heimerdinger's in the house.
Heimerdinger is here, and he is glorious. Voice acting great, looks great. His little tiny feet as he moves across the ground is just amazing. And he's cool. Like, he's cool. Fucking Heimer's cool.
Yeah,
like not nerdy. I mean, obviously nerdy, but like cool nerd.
Yeah, he's got that air of someone who's very nerdy that has also just been around enough social circles to just accept who he is, and just throw it out there, and so you deal with it. So especially for we have a podcast where we talk about fantasy lore. So of course for people like us, we do find that cool. Because I thought he was cool as hell. He's just, just talking to Jace and being like, kind of really quickly but gently putting him in his place of like, no, I appreciate as far as your desire to learn more, but you shouldn't mess around with these things. And I know I've been around for like 300 years. Deal with it.
I'm gonna put a statement out there to get us canceled. Heimer's cooler than Yoda. All right.
Oh no!
So moving on. So
don't go for the Star Wars fans.
One thing we want to mention is we do get at the beginning here is a flashback to younger Jace, and this is going to be a note just for how we end this with our rating. This is where I took off some points. I'm not a big fan of starting off an episode with a flashback. It's just a pet peeve. Because what'd you say?
I'm going to push up my imaginary glasses. Well, actually, we started the episode with the explosion.
Because this specific flashback could have been used anywhere in this episode and still had the same effect, or not at all, and could have left an air of mystery, which would have been cool. But I digress. We do get younger Jace and his mother trapped in, drum roll please, possibly the Freljord.
Yeah.
Or somewhere where an ice storm is happening. That's why I'm saying the Freljord. We don't have many places in Runeterra that get that vicious. And in our Freljord episodes, we talk a lot about the conditions out there and how ruthless they are, especially if you're not one of the tribes people that hang out there. Yeah. They're trapped, and then they're saved by a mystic, Freljord mystic, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So I actually because one of the notes that I have here is as far as who he's being saved by, I think Riot is going to get sued by Hasbro and WotC because Jace and his mom get saved by Jace the Planeswalker. So that's a Magic the Gathering joke for anyone who does not know that.
We have to have some crossover. There's no way.
I actually think that they were trapped on Mount Targon, like on Targon Peak, because
that's
like
a good theory.
as far as with them getting teleported out of there, with them getting teleported out of there, you see the mountain in the background, and it's like that could have been the mountain that they were on. But they're in a field that is very nice and, survivable, while still being relatively close to that mountain.
True. We'll do some geography checking after the episode and see what makes the most sense. But I think Targon might make more sense.
I do understand why they started with the flashback though, because Heimerdinger grills Jace as far as why he had all these illegal items, and it's because Jace was trying to find the source of that magic that saved him and his mom. And a Heimerdinger is like, nah, don't mess with magic. Don't do it, bro. Which I already have a lot of beef with, because a freaking Yordle is telling Jace to not worry. Like, we can't control magic.
A being of magic, basically.
Yeah. He's just an entity of magic. Like, he can't be there without using magic, because Bandlewood is not in Runeterra. But I digress. So it is after this, this grilling, and Heimerdinger just tells him, drop the magic thing and, plead your case to the council, and maybe we can get you off with just a slap on the wrist, maybe a probation, but you can't talk about magic, because it turns out at this point in Piltover, they're closer to Demacia than anything else.
Yes.
And
I'm gonna put a word here. Just leave this lingering as Hedge continues. Fascism. All right, let's move forward. We'll come back to that.
That's going to be very important when we get to the enforcers. So then we get back over to our Sumprats, to Vi and Powder and their fun little gang, and they're doing what any good hood rats will do when they're in trouble, and that's laying low.
Yep.
So we finally get to see
the block is hot.
We get to see the full scene of that arcade, which we got to shown in a couple of the trailers, as far as like Vi doing the punching bag and Jinx shooting and like the little cartoon gallery thing. The only note that I have here with that was that Powder is clearly the AD carry, because Milo's like, ha ha ha, having fun, and then Jinx is just like, headshot, Kilimanjaro. So that is a lot of fun, but it was nice to actually get to see the full scene of where we got all the high score stuff with all the teasers months ago leading up to this.
And for, remember, Jinx is an AD carry in the game, right? This is important to show that although up to this point we've been, or the perception of how useless she is, we're getting little tidbits of, okay, she's a good tinkerer. She's, a techie. She's able to build these things. But she also has good aim, because she not only built the shooting gallery, but also has been practicing on it, obviously, on her own time. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. And then we get some interference, right?
Yeah. So, the Sumprats, we left them in episode 1 running from the enforcers. And then the episode just kind of ends there. So they get away from the enforcers, and the enforcers just give up, right?
Yeah.
The fascism is known for not chasing hood rats. Wait, no, that's not the case. So their little respite in this makeshift arcade of theirs is immediately interrupted by police raids happening on the streets right outside.
Yeah.
They are in their safest spot. Vi's even saying no one checks here. And while they're saying that no one checks there, a body gets thrown through the window.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are going to check now.
Yeah. And it's time for some Sakuga.
Oh, Sakuga!
We get an action scene. And it's a fun romp. It's like them trying to, these guards or wardens trying to catch these kids in their own element, right? So they're jumping between target dummies. They're running around. We get another reveal of, an Easter egg, which is the chomper. As the guy goes to grab for powder and she closes a giant chomper mouth on his arm and he yelps and then she runs away. It's a good fun time. They take off out of a back exit, which every good hideout has to have, and they run down the alley, and luckily Echo's there to help them up a ladder and then kick the ladder down so they can get out of there.
Yep, because the hood rats are going to stick together. All right, the sump rats are in this together. And I loved as far as like Echo being the one to save them, because it kind of we had the idea in the first episode that they are friends.
Yes.
Whether or not they're always together, they're friends, and this solidified it. It's like perfect, good. This is, they're really piecing that together.
It also solidifies one other point, which we mentioned in our Echo episode, which is that Echo is always aware of like what's going on around him. And he's always trying to save people. Like he tries to get everyone out. That's his plan, right? Always. And that's been consistent over 2 episodes. Like every time we get him, he's trying to help everyone get out of the situation because he's fully aware of the situation because he's tiny and he kind of keeps his eyeballs on everything kind of thing.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because you're not wrong. But at this point,
Thanks,
we've only
Hedge. I'm never wrong. Come on.
Of course not. And at this point, like with these 2 episodes, at this point, we've only really seen Echo for about 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they're doing a great job of conveying that idea of like Echo's going to get his friends out.
Yeah.
But so thanks to Echo, the Sump Rats are able to break away, get away from the enforcers, and they are on the run for a little bit longer. And now we're going to switch over to meeting some of the council members of the Academy of Piltover.
Yep.
So as far as moving over to this, we first get to meet Counselor Medarda. We get to meet Counselor Medarda first, which I'm declaring it now. All right. There is no argument. You have to agree with me. All right. Medarda is the hottest chick of this show. And no, I will not be taking
waifu material. Good personality too. For fascism. That's
for fascism.
let's slow down. Let me slow down here. They do call her Mel, I think is her name, that they refer to as with her coworkers, which I said council members rather than coworkers. But yeah, getting introduced to her is very interesting because we get a very important piece of her in episode 1 where in this episode, where she's commenting about how she needs something or the council needs something to put Piltover on the map. And when she said that, I had to go back in my mind because you remember we're always consuming this lore all the time. So it's like, wait, where are we in the timeline? Because isn't Piltover already the city? It's like, well, no, we're not there yet. Piltover is still establishing itself as this new tech city. And we'll get to what helps to be the catalyst.
Yeah,
for that.
It really is hard. I too had a lot of trouble putting myself in this mind space of
mind space.
I've been having to put myself in this headspace of that.
Yeah.
Piltover is like a worse Demacia at this point.
Yes,
it's a Demacia with more smog. And the things that I didn't notice just right away as far as with seeing Mel is that she's clearly going to be a centerpiece as far as for this transition into the Piltover we know. 2, with her getting ready to oversee Jace's court case, she's going through these gift items for one of the counselor's birthdays, and I did really kind of hook onto that because I think they were trying to use this as a piece of information to let us know that even though it's at an academy and that these are academics at heart, it's very much a political thing because it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting a gift for a councilman. Ooh, this is a children's toy. Yeah, perfect. And then we get like a quick brief look at Caitlyn and her family getting ready to go to trial.
Yeah.
And Caitlyn's mom saying, no, we're going to stand up for Jace. That's literally like 5 seconds straight into the courtroom for Jace's case. And we see Mel giving a guy this gift. He looks at it. He has no idea what it is. And it's like, yes, I had this crafted for you. I'm told that it's for only the most gifted of minds. And he immediately just starts playing with this children's toy, like, hell yeah. And that sets a tone of like, okay, yeah, they're academics. This is supposed to be the smartest nation in all of Runeterra, and politics are the same everywhere. It's the blind leading the blind.
Yep. And, on top of that, so we have a revelation that Caitlyn's mom is on the council, and she's also at this point still Jace's patron, which is just, a representative for someone of a lesser house, right, and other fantasy stuff. So, but also Heimer's on the council as well, right? And since Heimer's on the council, his assistant is Victor. So you automatically have this network that, because like Hetch mentioned, politics are the same everywhere, right? So you can draw a lot of lines there yourself without them having to go any deeper into any of that, because you're familiar with who these characters are vaguely if you don't delve too deep into it. And now you know their positions, and now you know the situation. So let's get to the trial of Jace.
Yeah. And the only thing I want to add there is like with Victor being Heimerdinger's assistant, they do a good job of really making Victor kind of being on the wall. And I didn't realize how good of a job it was until we're recording this. We didn't even mention that Victor was at the apartment after the explosion. And he says that he's Heimerdinger's assistant. But like even then, Jace is like, I have no idea who you are. And when they meet up again, he still has no idea who he is. Like they do a good job of just like Victor is just kind of like chilling.
Yeah.
He's feeling out the room.
Even to that point during the trial, when the crowd is kind of coming into the room before they darken the lights and everything, you can see Victor getting pushed back into the crowd. Like he's at the front to start, but as the crowd comes in, he kind of gets pushed to the background. Yeah, it's crazy. They do a really good job of making him just a fly on the wall.
Like, like don't worry about him. Don't worry about him.
Not yet. Not yet.
You're supposed to.
Yeah.
But don't worry about him.
Oh, we need to listen to our Victor episode if you want to know more.
Bro, watch him. Watch him. I said watch him. So now once we get to the court case, Jace follows Heimerdinger's instructions. I did not know how dangerous these materials were. I should not have had them. I am sorry. Please let me stay at the school. The council immediately starts berating him for being stupid. And what we know as far as just from reading Victor's lore, and when we talked about it, Jace is a very headstrong dude, but he's also a very confident dude. And a confident guy who's worried about his image is not going to stand for being called stupid. So he's like, no, what I was studying was remarkable and about to hit a breakthrough. But you said you didn't know what you were dealing with. So you're an idiot. Nope, I was dealing with magic. And then Heimerdinger, Heimerdinger face palms. And then it's like, okay, now this is the point that we learned, because Heimerdinger just kind of said, stay off the topic and stay away from it.
Yeah.
But now we learn it is against the law for academics to pursue magic or the control or study of magic.
Yeah.
And so now, okay, this is now a case about banishment.
Yeah. Remember fascism? It's still there. We're not there yet. But where we are is that we get two reveals here. First of all, one of the council members is like a robot thing. I don't know. Like, I don't know if he's a robot or in a robotic suit. Just because
I don't
of
know
the design.
either. I don't know either. And like, especially because of the timeline, he can't be following the Great Evolution.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what that guy was.
He does mention that magic has destroyed his race. He says this, or his people. I can't remember the exact term, but it's close to, okay, who are you? What are you? And what are you talking about? So that gives us a big question mark. This is then followed by Heimer berating Jace and saying, listen, you don't understand what dealing with magic can do, because magic can affect time. And I've seen things happen with time that you wouldn't believe. And we get this shot of this figure in this like time beam as like the world around him is being shifted. And who have we talked about that was involved in a similar situation?
You cannot Killian the Zillion.
If anybody watched Worlds, you know who we're talking about.
Ooh, boy, too soon.
Too soon. We're talking about maybe a Zillion reference here, which is really cool.
So one, it's maybe a Zillion reference, and with Heimerdinger being as old as he is, it's just more chances to actually run into Zillion. Two, that it plays into my theory of the robot guy that we have no idea who the hell he is. He could be an Acathian. And like he could be one of the few that actually got out before the void ruined everything. And he's like, well, yeah, magic wiped out my people. And no, it didn't wipe out his people. They're just stuck. They've just been stuck for a really long time. And I do want to point out what I wrote down in my notes here as far as with Heimerdinger's flashback. You're never too Yordle to have a Vietnam flashback.
All right. Callbacks to our own episodes. All right. Here we are, folks.
Yeah. So we get the reveal as far as the magics and everything. Yeah. The council is ready to banish Jace until his mom speaks up and says, no, he's just he's going mad in this pursuit, but he's a good boy and I can take care of him. And Heimerdinger uses this kind of change into talking about Jace's personality to be like, okay, well, let's not banish him. Let's just go back to our original verdict. And the original verdict was to whether he could stay in the school or not. We'll kick him out. Yeah. So they kick him out, but he can stay in Piltover. And he can stay with his family, which Jace did not come from a well-off family, but he still came from a family in Piltover, which we know from seeing the families in Zaun, especially all these families in the lanes. He's not bad. He's doing all right. He's doing okay. And that's where the court case ends. And that's going to take us straight over to Silco.
Well, not quite yet. There's one comment I want to make. Because we do get a scene here, and this kind of goes back to my questioning the flashback at the beginning, right? Did it need to be there? Not saying it didn't ruin anything. It's still well done. But we get a shot when Jace and his mother go back to her more, common dwelling, if you want to call it that. I sound like an aristocrat, right? But she's talking to him, and the camera's kind of following her, and she's kind of just like rubbing dust off of things. And you notice she has 2 prosthetic fingers. Knowing they were trapped in the ice situation, possible frostbite, she now has prosthetics. When you think about Jace, you think about what's going to happen next with his research, and you think about Victor, and you think about prosthetics, and you think about the people that need them and how we get there. These are the steps. These are the steps that are taken.
For the glorious evolution.
For the glorious. All hail.
These little things are so much more fun when you know like all the different like the stories as far as what happens after this. So if you want to be able to laugh with us, check out some of those episodes because it makes it fun.
But you were talking about Shaco?
Get out of here. I think I even have a Shaco note somewhere in my, like a Shaco joke somewhere in my notes too, and I blame you fully.
Gosh darn it, I almost got him.
I almost got him. But yeah, so then we go quickly over to Silco, and this is truly just a quick look. And it turns out that Silco, he has his own connection to the Enforcers. And he's wheeling and dealing with them too. This is where we also get a name of the young hothead that was with Grayson, which was Marcus. So Marcus talking to Silco, and Silco's like, hey, I got a lead on these 4 Sumprats you're looking for. As far as the wheeling and dealing, my book, not that important. What's important is we're getting to see a little bit more of the effects of whatever research he's doing. It looks familiar. It looks familiar, and I have written down here Cthulhu Fathagan. And whenever I'm going Lovecraft on a League of Legends comment,
it's about to get racist. Oh, we're not going that way?
No, we're not going that way. No, we're not talking about cats.
Oh, no.
I'm going to hell. I'm going straight to hell. But no. Like, when I'm talking Lovecraft, it's the void, baby. Like,
yeah.
I don't think this is a natural study that Silco's doing here anymore.
What was the giveaway? The color purple?
See, the color purple's one thing, all right? And thanks to Mundo, I'm not going straight to the void every time.
Yeah.
But when it goes into tentacle-like shapes and it starts throbbing and then it starts making high-pitched frequency noises, if it looks like a Zerg and it smells like a Zerg and it talks like a Zerg, it's probably a Zerg. And Protoss assemble. So yeah, Silco's is in the deep voodoo now.
Oh yeah. And this actually leads to another one of my points, kind of subtracting, is that this episode does bounce a lot, right? We are dealing with a lot of characters, but there were certain periods where the flow of the episode kind of was jarring for me, bouncing from like a scene with the court case into Silco and then bouncing into what we go into next, which is back into council stuff, like essentially pressure, or not council stuff, but like Caitlyn's parents and Caitlyn kind of talking to Jace. Like there's a lot of bouncing happening here.
Yeah.
And there's only a few places where it syncs up, right?
Yeah. And it really doesn't.
But this
sync
is me
up.
grasping at straws here. Listen, we love this damn thing. This is amazing.
Yeah. It doesn't, like, this bit that we're talking about that doesn't even sync up well. It really only lasts about like a minute.
Yeah.
As well, because then we end up going back into the lanes, and of course we're going to be focused a lot more on Vi and Powder. But the last thing that I'll mention here, so quick hack, life hack, if you will. I was watching with subtitles on. So before we bounce back into the lanes and we see Jace.
Smart man.
And we see Jace talking with Caitlyn as far as like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. Probably just end it. I don't know. And it's just like, well, this is depressing. We get right back to Silco real quick. Mm-hmm. And Silco is trying to give Deckard whatever this purple stuff that they were feeding that mouse. And it's just like
Mountain Dew Baja Blast 2.
And it's like, yo, you ready for you ready to release the beast? And that is a very important thing, because now we're getting to see them transition to human subjects and seeing if they survive and whatnot. But the reason I bring up subtitles and a life hack is his assistant is like, yeah, here you go, Silco. And if you watch it with subtitles on, they name the assistant, and the assistant is named Singed.
Those amateurs. Did we just get somebody fired?
Woo!
Did we just get somebody fired?
Got him!
Oh, no.
So, yeah, there's no way you're going to name some random guy Singed and have him in Zon dealing with some kind of alchemical process, and tell me that he's not going to end up being singed. Which there's going to be a joke there, but that's for another episode. So yeah, that was my nice little reveal as far as watching that scene.
That was huge.
The most important part of that scene is that Silco finds his willing subject for the testing of this chemical, and Deckard goes beast mode. But before he goes fully beast mode, we cut and we're back to the lanes.
Always with the cuts. And yeah, so when we're in the lanes, I think, wait, no. There's a quick cut to Jace and Caitlyn talking, as Jace is kind of having this a mental breakdown where he's like, everything is falling apart. Caitlyn tries to talk to him. Her mom shows up and is like, he's excommunicated. Stop talking to him, right? Immediately kind of cuts him off. And then he tries to do a bad thing.
No, I don't think we've gotten to that yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
No,
My stuff is out of order then.
Yeah, your stuff's out of order.
Okay.
Again, with all the quick cuts.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
It's hard. It's hard to kind of keep up with.
But as you were. Yeah.
What I've got here is that we get the transformation into Deckard, and before the transformation into Deckard is the talk with Caitlyn, and then we go back to the lanes.
Ah, yes.
We finally get a name for the bar. So the bar is named The Last Drop.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's kind of...
Which is a bar
kind of
in
a cool name.
Ireland, I believe.
Really?
It's a historic bar. I won't go into that. We're not going to go into that. Never mind. Let's continue.
All right. We're starting another podcast about historic bars, right? All right. You know what? Tell a friend, like, comment, subscribe, get them to do it too, so that we can blow up enough so that we can have a podcast where we travel to historic bars. All right. Yeah. So we go back to The Last Drop, and as far as at The Last Drop, we get Marcus following his tip from Silco to find the Sump Rats, and he's just like, okay, yeah, no, we're looking for the kids. I'm sure you're gonna let us look, right? And they start looking, and while they're looking, it's like, okay, yeah, well, let me get you a drink. Vander, it's like, yeah, I'll get you the strong stuff. Hits a nice little panic button. And we get an automatic monkey, and that's clearly the alarm.
Yep.
And Hood Rat's gonna hide.
Yep.
So we get this nice tense scene as far as the enforcers looking for the kids constantly trying to hide from them. It's filmed exactly like how every search scene and horror films are done. Yeah. So it helps as far as the tense vibes, but it's really accented by Marcus and Vander's conversation, because Marcus is clearly just trying to get Vander to lash out at him. And it's just like,
it's like an instigation type tactic. And Marcus also makes a comment, which for me, I was like, this is important. Remember, fascism, we're getting there.
Yeah.
He talks about them as you people. This bar is filled with people, and he talks about how their lives aren't the same value as theirs. They're a nuisance to the people on the surface, and he's just going. Marcus is a shitheel. That's obvious. But this is the first time we're getting this display, because when the aristocrats and the council make these kind of comments, they're more elevated and eloquent with how they present options, right, for dealing with Zahn. But Marcus doesn't have that brain capacity, so he's just straight up classist, right?
Yeah, and I think it's also a thing of just the age, because he's clearly portrayed as being young and hot-headed.
Yes,
and we don't get it yet. We're about to get it as far as from the Zahn side as well. But with that age, he doesn't know. He doesn't know as far as he did not experience what has happened before, as far as with these lower tiered people trying to fight for their rights. So he doesn't know better, he should know better. But
because listen, Piltover, I guarantee Piltover is not teaching the correct history. Remember, fascism. We're getting there.
Are you saying there's critical Zahn theory?
Oh no! CZT.
No, is that going to get us hits, or is that going to get us banned?
We're going to find out. Where does it take us in the story, though?
Yeah. So it's after this scene that Vander goes, checks on the kids, make sure they're fine, and now we're going to get to see the Marcus on the other side, which is Vi being like, "Hey, yo, they almost caught us." There's a very tense scene as far as Powder almost getting caught, and Vi just straight up says, they almost saw Powder. And if they saw powder, we were all screwed.
Yeah.
But why are we hiding? Why aren't we just taking the fight to them? And we've seen, as far as like people in the bar, with even in this scene, the people in the bar, like Vander's just trying to keep them from fighting.
Yeah.
And we've seen the other people get together and be like, what happened to the old Vander? We want to fight. And Vi's like, yeah, I want to fight too. And instead of reprimanding her right there, Vander's just like, Vi, let's talk somewhere else. And he takes her,
dad.
and he takes her back to the bridge.
Yeah.
So he takes her back to the bridge between Piltover and Zahn that we saw in the very opening of the first scene. And before they show us that they're on the bridge, they show us a fucking memorial wall of just like, yeah, all the people lost in the fighting. And that's where we get to see that this contrast as far as with the Zahnites. It's like, no, we're tired of being tread upon. We want to fight just for equal rights.
Yeah.
And it's Vander going, you weren't there. It was awful. Like,
yeah.
And he was now trying to tell Vi of like, well, technically you were there. And if I hadn't led all of those Zahnites to try to fight for their rights, your parents would be alive.
Yep.
And
that's a huge moment. Yeah.
It's like, he's right. Like it's like the difference between talking to like a war veteran and someone straight out of boot camp.
Yeah.
Like, like guys come out of boot camp, they're ready, straight up looking for a fight. Whereas a war veteran is, especially one that's seen enough action, they know like, yeah, you don't want it.
Yeah. Historically, resistance movements and revolutions are bloody, unfortunately. And that's something he's trying to convey to her. But you also can see that this is also a cathartic moment for him, right? To finally be able to tell her what they saw that he couldn't tell them then, right? And that's huge because it puts all that into perspective, because if you listen to episode 1, which we just put out, I, started off the episode with genocide, right? Like I immediately jumped for the most extreme because of the spectacle of everything, right? The excitement for what they were going to do with this story. But this makes it more real, and this obviously fits the story better, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome that they did this scene so well.
Yeah, I think it was also cathartic for him because it's also the first time that he's getting to say, like, what is the cost of us fighting for our freedom?
Yeah.
And someone actually listen.
Yes.
Because every time it's been brought up to this point, he's just been called weak.
Yeah.
So I think it was for both sides. So after this very tender moment, then we cut back to Jace in the ruins of his lab. And Jace is like, well, that was my life's work. And now that it's gone, it means my life is gone. So we might as well go ahead, put the final nail in the coffin. And he's standing on the ledge. He is ready to go. Celine Dion's playing in the background.
Oh, no.
And before he takes that final step, he gets interrupted by the guy that's constantly being pushed to the back, the guy that you weren't supposed to worry about. And Victor shows up and goes, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt anything. I was just reading through your notes. And it's like, no, they took all my notes. Yeah, they took all your notes, but I have this one, and I know it's yours. You've signed every page. And Victor, and this is where Victor, 1, reveals that he is very interested in what Jace was working on.
Yeah.
2, he reveals to Jace his name, because Jace was not paying attention, because we weren't supposed to. He's fly on the wall. Yeah. And 3, he also reveals that he is a Zaunite. He came from the sump. He busted his butt to get to where he is right now. But he busted his butt to get there because he wants to go further. And he thinks that Jace's study can take him further. And the only other note I have here is Victor and Jace Yowie incoming.
The internet has backed you up on that one.
Immediately. My sister did not even watch the show, and she's already like, hey, what's this?
What's the hashtag? Yeah, she already wants to know the hashtag.
She's doing her research for the Rule 34 crap.
And one important point, and this is reaching towards the content, the Victor episode, is that notice here during this conversation, Victor does bring up he's from the Undercity, but he's also crippled. And this has set him back as far as not only being not of the, top side or the north side, but he also has a disability. And Jace is kind of his meal ticket to his goal. We know what his goal is. If you don't know what his goal is, go check out the episode. But that plays important. That's your little reveal into, hey, we get the very nice Victor who's playing his cards right, but keep an eye on him. He's been kept in the background for a moment for a reason.
And this is the beginning of a very core part of both Victor and Jace's storylines, which is that it started off as a very friendly rivalry.
Yes.
Like it's the rivalry from anime, like we are best friends, but I will surpass you.
Frenemies.
And I will be better than you. And luckily for the Runeterra world, there is no one true protagonist. So they actually have a back and forth. So it's none of the shonen bullcrap of I will get better than you and Vegeta never wins.
Oh no, he's going down the rabbit hole. Okay, let's
and so then we leave as far as this scene of Victor and Jace finally saying, okay, no, let's do it. All right. Like, let's take this book. That's all we got left, but we can figure out what these crystals are.
Yeah.
And then we take a quick cut to, into the sump rats down at the last drop. Daddy Vander trying to, cheer the spirits up of Powder. Vi looking very depressed. A quick cut to the enforcers. Now the quick cut that they have there is Marcus and Grayson arguing because Grayson's like, you did what in the last drop? You have no idea what you've done. You've screwed us all.
Yep.
We are doomed. You have no idea how bad it was. You weren't there. And while she's reprimanding him, in comes
some commands.
In comes the commands, specifically the little
word
bank,
of the day.
The
word
bank
of the day.
shoot. Word of the day.
What's the word of the day, folks? Say it with me. Fascism.
Fascism. Well, she didn't get commands. It was the message tube that she left with Vander.
Yeah.
And so Vander's message comes in, and she goes, "Oh, well, maybe we're not screwed yet." And then it goes back to Vander trying to cheer up Powder, Vi being depressed, a bunch of enforcers walking to a door, knock on the door, end of episode. So then it just kind of leaves us with this, top 10 anime betrayal? Because that was Vander, that was Vander's ticket. That was Vander's ticket to lead to an arrest. Did Vander give them up?
The kids?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. I think that is a reach for them to be like, oh, he's the best dad in the world. There's no way. There's no way he's giving up the kids at least on purpose, right?
You're going to print out like a nice photo of Vander and you're going to frame it and you're just going to like hug it when you go to sleep.
Oh, it's going to be like the Wolverine meme. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So now we're at the point, listen, we've been rambling for a bit now. And it's one of those things where, okay, so we got to give it the rating. I'm going with a 4 out of 5 here. I mentioned flashback kind of didn't do it for me at the beginning with the J stuff, but the jumping around really did get me lost as you found this episode. There are points in my notes where I'm like, wait a minute, where are we?
I can agree with a 4 out of 5. It was still very entertaining, but this one was definitely much more dialogue heavy. Because I think like the only bit of action that we really got was the kids running from the enforcers. So it's a lot more of just like paying attention to what the characters are going through.
Yeah.
So hey, unless you're like super into the story, which cough cough we are, it's a little boring. But it's a lot to also break down, which is part of the reason why we're continuing to talk about it.
Exactly. But with that, once again, as always, thanks for hanging out with us for this. This is something we've been looking forward to doing forever. I mean, this has been in development for 6 years, right? So to finally have the opportunity to sit down and, dig into this stuff, take all the things we've talked about, all the things we've learned about the lore over the years, and apply it to this really well done story, regardless of the ratings or whatever. That's just us having fun. This is great so far, and it's only been 2 episodes. If they can keep this up, then they're golden for something historic.
Yeah, it is already so much fun, and it dates itself for how long it's been in development when the music is clearly inspired by Imagine Dragons and Lord. But yeah, I still love it, and I can't wait for us to talk about episode 3. So stay tuned for that.
It's definitely coming. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with the next Arcane episode.
Take care, everybody.